Hey everyone! Today on the Evolution Show, I'm going to talk to you about one of the lesser known elements, bismuth. So let me introduce you to bismuth. Now, this is a really fascinating metal. So it is a heavy metal, and it's on the periodic table of elements as well, and its scientific symbol is Bi. So if you're looking for it, that's where it's going to be. And this is just an amazingly intricate, beautiful piece of a natural element. And it's just the weirdest thing in the world to think that this is how it actually comes out of the ground and this is how it's formed. It's extremely, extremely interesting. So a couple of science facts about bismuth. Like I said, the scientific symbol for it is Bi. It is an element, it is a heavy metal. Unlike most metals though, it's not particularly conductive, so it doesn't really transmit electricity or heat very well, unlike copper, which is very, very conductive. So this one's kind of on the opposite spectrum of that. It is almost as dense as lead. Lead is the heaviest of the heavy metals, so this is almost as dense as lead. And in fact, it is used instead of lead in a lot of industrial applications. But it is extremely, extremely dense. When you're holding it, it really feels quite heavy. It's much heavier than it looks. And if you were to have a cubic foot of solid bismuth, it would weigh 600 pounds. So bismuth, like I said, is a natural element. It's a naturally occurring element, but it wasn't actually really discovered until the 1400s. Whenever it was encountered before that, people always just thought it was lead because it is so similar. It has so many the same properties as lead. It's dense like lead. It has a really low melting point like lead. And so and it almost kind of looks like lead in its sort of unoxidized state, in its sort of raw state. It kind of looks like lead, it's shiny and silver, and so people just thought that it was lead. But it wasn't until the 1400s that people started to think that this might actually be a separate element and called bismuth. And it wasn't actually until even later, the 1700s, when people were able to definitively prove through scientific experiments that it was in fact a separate element from lead. And the name bismuth is believed to derive from the German words for Bismuth, which means white mass, because like I mentioned, in its raw form, bismuth is just this sort of plain white silvery metal, and it doesn't look very distinctive at all, and so they think that it basically means white mass. So that's where the word bismuth comes from. So bismuth is a naturally occurring element. It's a naturally occurring metal, and it does grow in nature in this shape, and that's something that most people don't believe when I tell them. It has these beautiful crystalline structure. These are called hopper crystals, and the reason is because they just basically hop up and down like staircases. So that's why they're called that. And they are just, people don't believe that this is really what they look like in nature. That having been said, naturally occurring bismuth is extremely rare. It does occur, but it is extremely rare. So most of the pieces that you'll find available for sale, like this one, have been grown in a lab. That's not to say that they've been modified or carved or anything. It is a natural crystal structure, but it's grown in a lab as opposed to being found out, in a mountain or something like that. And as I mentioned, bismuth normally in its sort of raw state is white, silvery, doesn't have that much color going on. But when you look at this, you're seeing a lot more rainbows, you're seeing iridescence. It almost kind of looks like an oil slick, right? So if you've seen, like a puddle of oil or gas or something under your car, this is kind of that shimmery look that it has. It's really, really unique, and I don't know any other metal or mineral or anything like that that has this beautiful, very unique iridescence. It even has a part, this particular specimen has a part that's kind of not as developed as much, and you can see on the inside it has that bright sort of silvery finish as well. And the reason that it turns these amazing colors is through oxidization, or oxidation. So when the air molecules hit the metal, as it does with many other metals, iron, copper, all that, when they're exposed to oxygen, they start to oxidize. And when bismuth oxidizes, it becomes beautiful. It becomes a rainbow. It's really, really interesting. And so this is basically just an oxidized version of bismuth that was grown in the lab. Another couple unique properties of bismuth that really make it feel like it's more of an alien structure than an earthly one is that when you heat it up, it has a, if you set it on fire, the flame that comes off of it is blue, and it emits yellow clouds of smoke around it. So I don't know what's going on there, but it burns blue flames and yellow clouds. So this is a very, very weird thing. Also, what's interesting is that it's actually heavier in its liquid form than in its solid form. Most metals are not like that, but it has a crystal structure similar to water. So if you've ever carried around a jug of water versus a bag of ice, you'll see they have sort of approximately the same volume, but the ice is so much lighter. And so bismuth has a similar crystal structure to water, and that's why it's actually heavier in its liquid form than it is in its solid form. So even though bismuth looks pretty otherworldly, it's actually a lot more common in your everyday life than you might realize. So there are a lot of applications of bismuth in business. So there are a lot of industrial uses of bismuth. One of them that most people might not realize, but is actually right there in the name, is Pepto-Bismol. So when you take small amounts of bismuth, you can make it into Pepto-Bismol. That's what the bismol is from. It's from the bismuth. So it's known to quiet, irritated tummies. So that's one use of bismuth. And also when it's crushed up, it can be used in cosmetics. So it has this beautiful, obviously, iridescent effect. And so for years it's been used in cosmetics, eyeshadows, lipsticks, nail polish, you name it. So the business of bismuth is pretty strong. Lots of different applications for this stuff. Well, thanks for watching our video about bismuth. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe. Leave us a comment. We'd love to get your feedback. And we will see you next time with another video. In the meantime, you can visit our store if you'd like to see some of this bismuth in person. We're located in New York City, or you can visit us online at theevolutionstore.com. Okay, I'm going to read you some comments that we got. So this first one is from Michael Zambito. He was commenting on a video that we did a while back on ammonites. He says, "Love your store, just picked up a small ammonite today. These videos are interesting, hope you keep it up." Well, thank you, Michael, for watching. We intend to keep it up. We're doing our best to put out interesting videos for you guys, especially if you aren't able to visit the store, so that you can kind of experience what it's like to visit us. So thank you for watching, I really appreciate it. So this comment is about a video that we had made on a bunch of new taxidermy that we had gotten in the store. And so this person's handle is I'm dumb, which you're not. Don't be so hard on yourself. But they say, I'm in love with that zebra, and ooh, you don't see many traditionally mounted ranchies. Pretty silver fox. First of all, you have to enlighten me. What is a ranchie? I am not familiar with this term. I have to know. Please reply and comment if you know what a ranchie is. And also, I think that the zebra pedestal mount that we had is also one of the cooler pieces that we picked up, and we actually just sold it just the other day to someone in Texas, of all places. So we had to ship it out to Texas. It was a whole ordeal trying to create a crate that would fit this enormous zebra pedestal, but we did it. It was a feat of engineering and sheer determination. But yeah, so that zebra was beautiful, but also the bane of my existence for a couple of weeks there. All right, and our last comment today is from Harris Abrams, and they say, thanks, this is really interesting, and you may have the very coolest store in New York City. Well, it's either Evolution or the Strand. Okay, both. I agree, Harris, no need to choose. We're basically like 2 blocks away from each other. You can absolutely visit us both and hold us both in your heart in this very special place.